Hi, this is a quick video about when to go off the shelf or when to go with a custom enterprise platform. So PlaceOS offers both options. You can either have something really packaged, quick and easy to implement and off the shelf, or you can completely customize a solution to your specific requirements. So John, what do you think some of the key reasons to firstly go enterprise would be?
Yeah, I think sometimes it is a hard decision because you could start with one and move to the other. But you also don't want to invest too much time in customization if halfway through the project your priorities change. So there's a lot to sort of to navigate there. I think there are ultimately three main reasons, though. The first will be if you have a large stakeholder group. So an example of that for us at the moment is one of our university customers. And you can imagine a university has many stakeholders. There's the academic staff, the non-academic professional staff, the students, the visitors, and it's both a workplace, a residential complex, and of course teaching spaces and research labs. There's so many different stakeholders that providing something to meet all the needs off the shelf is probably, at the very least, it's not practical. And you may need lots of different solutions and some way of tying them all together. So if you have a large stakeholder group, it probably makes sense to go customization.
Yeah. And there might still be ways for a university like that to start with something off the shelf. Maybe space utilization is their number one problem. So we start with that off the shelf, but they've still got the ability long term to then start layering in all of those different user experiences and integrations and build up to custom as well. Or
you might start with just one stakeholder group.
Yeah.
And you might realize that eventually you need to bring in more people.
Mm-hmm.
But an example of that, a university customer again started with security and using PlaceOS purely to measure or to count when a swipe card event happened for building access to trigger a recording on the security camera system. So that's a very specific feature that can be packaged for one stakeholder group, in that case security, but we might use those cameras for other workflows, other automation events that might benefit other stakeholders. So it's really about where do you get started.
Yeah.
I think the second reason customization is important is for global deployments. So for our workplace clients, this has been very useful for when you have an office, but with the same organization, you have an office in, let's say, Paris and an office in London. And there could be a lot of similarities and transferable features in that regard, but there will be cultural differences, and culture and workplace culture is very closely tied. And those small tweaks, sometimes you need to customize. So if you add more than just those two cities and you're doing a global deployment, we have customers with 190 offices globally. There's definitely differences across the board where you need custom business rules and custom logic, and in some cases, custom interface. And that's where, again, maybe we start with something uniform.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say we also then conversely have customers who have global portfolios and they've said, we want the exact same thing in every single building. We're trying to normalize all of our technology. So for that reason, we want something out of the box, highly scalable. But then we know that, every single office is maybe going to have, a different building management system or something like that. So long term, we want the flexibility to be able to say we can have the opportunity to bring that in if we want to, but we don't want that process to take 3 years to begin with. We want something right now and we want something seamless.
Yeah, and for that large global client we have, it's sort of like you breathe in and out. Like sometimes you're expanding out, but then sometimes they want to rope other cities in to say, well, actually we're supporting this globally, so we need it to be standardized features.
Yeah.
As picking and choosing when you have that flexibility, and that's really up to that client to determine, and that can change over time.
Yeah.
So flexibility is the key thing there for global deployments.
Yeah, for sure.
And the third main reason would be for unique environments or environments where maybe you're doing something brand new and there is no product off the shelf. And we love when that happens because we have clients that have unique challenges. They might not be a workplace client. They might not even be a smart building or real estate client. They could be something in the virtual space or something in the metaverse and looking for automation. And we've had a number of those along our history at PlaceOS. Everything from art gallery spaces where we're triggering building events to respond to people as they enter the building and the space for installation art. And that's so custom because it has to be for a specific exhibition. And then we have corporate clients like PwC that have unique spaces and they have wow factor spaces. So rather than just investing in meeting rooms, they invested in client spaces that include immersive rooms with displays that wrap around the room or send anything to anywhere, flexible space to run workshops for their client. So I think that those unique spaces or those unique challenges is an obvious reason. And these 3 points might actually line up. So you might stack these up in combination and definitely need customization.
For sure. So for that last example, it sounds like customization would be required, but that's not to say that that couldn't then be productized for future use cases if we can see that being something that's really replicable and we can use multiple times in the future. Yeah,
PwC again is a good example. They have a space that is basically like a showroom space, and they started in Sydney, and then they sort of have that same space all over their offices around the world now. So they can take a custom space and unify that and make that the mold for the cookie cutter to roll that out elsewhere.
So what about specifically for something like PlaceOS 1 that is out of the box? Who would the ideal customer be for that?
Yeah, well, it surprised us really. We thought the ideal customer was going to be small to medium business, and we've always been enterprise focused because of our customization capability. But we're finding our large corporate clients also want this easy to consume or easy to start packaged offering. And I think that's the sweet spot. It's you can start with this, but it has the flexibility to grow with you. And that's really important because the workplace today, everyone's trying to work out the value, the role of the physical workplace. So the workplace solutions need to adapt to that as our clients in the industry at large learn what to do with the physical space. So PlaceOS 1 is our packaged workplace offering that's hosted and set features, but you can graduate out of that into customization.
Yeah, and we're also supporting a product roadmap for that. So as we have new features that are coming up on multiple projects, then that can be something that we just build into the base product, and that will become available out of the box essentially with that. So I guess the short answer to all of this is that there's not really one size fits all for who should be enterprise or who should be out of the box. It really comes down to what is the key use cases and business outcomes that you're driving for, and then starting with one thing. And you can really have the best of both worlds, whether it's starting completely custom and enterprise if that's what you want, or starting with something out of the box, sticking with that, or long-term moving into something enterprise.